My name's Piers Hellawell and I'm a composer. For over 40 years I taught composition at Queen's University, and during that time obviously had a very important teaching relationship with Hard Rain Ensemble, as well as a composing relationship, collaborating on many works together. I retired from Queen's in 2024, last year, but at that time I had just taken on a new role in Scotland, which ensured that I would keep my hand in as a composition teacher, and that was as visiting composition professor at St Andrews University. In St Andrews University we have a week every spring when the live events are particularly dedicated to the presentation of more recent music, New Music Week. And this year, in 2025, the culminating event will be a concert of my work by Hard Rain Ensemble. And I'm extremely excited about this. Every composer dreams of having a program dedicated to their own work. It's not easy to get, and it's a great opportunity for any of us. In fact, two other composers will feature. They are both young composers. One is the late Daniel Barkley, who was a composer in Northern Ireland who very tragically passed away maybe 7 years ago now. And I taught him and had a lot to do with his development. And Daniel Barkley actually had quite an important relationship with Hard Rain Ensemble, even during his student time. He had a number of works explored by them, and we're going to revisit one of those as part of continuing an awareness of his work as a young composer. The other composer featured is a St Andrews musician, Michael Chamberlain, a very distinguished organist as well as composer. And Michael Chamberlain's work will partner Hard Rain with visiting professor of singing, Lucy Sheffer. And she will perform some vocal settings by Michael Chamberlain with the full Hard Rain Ensemble. Two young musicians are also involved in performance. There will be a young flute player and a young horn player from the St Andrews student body, who will both be performing solo works of mine, a solo flute piece from very long ago, 1985, and a much more recent solo horn piece from late 2020. I will also have a couple of ensemble pieces for the full Hard Rain lineup of the quintet. One of those is called Fictions from 2015, and the other, which was the one work actually written for Hard Rain Ensemble itself, that is Ground Truthing from 2018. And there are also a couple of trios in the programme. One of them, for a very unusual lineup, it's for a piano trio with a speaker. And that artist, Professor Lucy Sheffer, will be joining Hard Rain to take on the role of narration of the text by Sinead Morrissey in that work, Up by the Roots. The other work for trio is a much older piece. It's called Truth or Consequences, and it's for clarinet, cello and piano. And that's one of my most performed chamber pieces, so I'm very excited to have that included. I think there's a bit of a theme in these works. A lot of them are multi-movement pieces, not lots of movements, but for example, the two quintets are both works of three movements, and the flute piece, Seal Songs, is also a work for three movements. And thinking about these over 30 or 40 years, I realised that they share a kind of structure, which is not to produce the kind of balanced partners in movements that you might get in a classical sonata, but rather to explore different worlds. So each movement of a work in three movements is designed here to explore a different expressive world that you could not imagine in the other pieces. So three discrete worlds. That's very true of the flute piece in 1985, and it's still the approach, for example, in fictions with three very, very diverse movements for the ensemble. Not very long movements, but very much trying to take you into a separate place that is unlike the others. And that set of movements then forms the work as a whole. So I think that's something that unites some of these pieces. It's certainly true of Truth or Consequences, the trio for clarinet, cello and piano, which has two movements, and like the title, Truth or Consequences, these two movements are as opposed as could possibly be. Hard Rain Ensemble and I have been friends and colleagues since its very important foundation more than a decade ago by Greg Caffrey. And I'm particularly proud of the long teaching association that Hard Rain had and continues to have with Queen's University. Their resource and skill at the disposal of composers across the island of Ireland has been a major development, and I'm extraordinarily excited to see how they go from strength to strength. And it's wonderful to get them over to Scotland.